start with the prayer. Sahana Bhavatu.
Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So currently we are studying the second chapter. Is called Role of the Intellect. And in that chapter we are on the fourth topic. It's called acquisition and enjoyment. And I think last few weeks we have had enough discussion, in-depth discussion on what is acquisition, what is enjoyment. Did we discuss enjoyment? Anybody remembers? I mean, was it explained in detail? The second motivation?
No, Amitji, you just started last few minutes of last class. You explained a little bit.
Okay. So acquisition, we all know. Now, the second motivation which drives anybody is enjoyment. So already explained in the book, just trying to recap. So all the acquisition, whatever you want to acquire, the end purpose of that acquisition is you want to enjoy. You want to acquire wealth for what? So that you can enjoy wealth. You want to acquire a new house so that you can enjoy a new house. You want to acquire a partner, or acquire a family so that you can enjoy their company. Now, about enjoyment, there are 2 or 3 main points which we have to understand. That Vedanta is not saying you should not enjoy life. That is the misunderstanding. Otherwise, what kind of a life it will be? Naturally, you will enjoy life. Any area of life for which you have a desire and you appreciate that. It could be object, it could be being, it could be any tangible, intangible aspect of the world. How can you not enjoy? But what these great men, they are cautioning us, that if you start indulging, then you will lose the joy content. So it's called as law of diminishing returns. The simple example, we always give this example. You're fond of a particular dessert, whatever you like. So if you started eating that dessert every day, I mean, how long you can enjoy that? You like, I don't know, blackcurrant ice cream. I had that in New Jersey a few days back, so it is in my head, vanilla blackcurrant ice cream. It was good. Somebody wants to try. Check with your doctors first. Don't blame me. Sugar goes up, this and that. I'm not responsible. So you have it once in a while. Definitely you will enjoy it. Once a week, once in 15 days or whatever. You make it twice a week. Still you can enjoy it, but you may not look forward to it. Once a week on a weekend, wife takes out that ice cream from a fridge. Nice, a nice feeling. Twice a week is okay. Every day, if you started having it, what will happen? What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you start doing that, nobody does that with ice cream. I'm just magnifying, I mean, you will lose all the joy content in that, which is called as law of diminishing returns. It applies for an object, also it applies for a being. Husband and wife, they why don't they enjoy each other's company? Because like too much closeness. So if you give that elbow room, whole life you look forward to enjoying each other's company. So applies to all aspects of life. So it's called as law of diminishing returns. And if you continue that indiscriminate indulgent contact, then you reach a state called as neutralization. So that is what has happened to well-to-do people, who have a lot of surplus money. So they have money, they keep on contacting the sense object indiscriminately. And then you do beyond a point, you don't get any excitement. Like, children, if you go on pampering them with all the goodies, is a simple example. I mean, what excitement they are going to have in life? When you and I were growing up, how many toys you had? Ask yourself, 20 years back, 30 years back, 40 years back. You had maybe one toy, two toys, three or four toys, five toys, something to look forward to. How many toys you have given to your own kids? Don't answer. I'm sure it is at least like, minimum 40, 50. In some cases, it could be literally into hundreds. So they have no joy. They become neutralized. So that's the word we use. Another example we give is an alcoholic. Alcoholic does not enjoy a drink. Then you may ask me why is he drinking all the time? Because if he abstains from the drink, he gets displeasure. But when he contacts, there is no pleasure. So that state is called as neutralization, or a chain smoker. So if you look at his ashtray, the chain smoker, mostly you will find half smoked cigarettes. He will take few puffs, whatever, and he will put it off. Because he has to have a smoke, whatever. It could be every 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So when he smokes, there is no pleasure. But if he stays away from smoking, it produces mental agitations. There is displeasure. So that state is called as neutralization. Now you apply this to your own life. There are areas of your life where you have become neutralized to whatever that enjoyment is. So if you get wealth beyond your need, and if you don't have right value for wealth, most people they don't have right value for wealth. They start indulging in the world, indulging in sense objects indiscriminately, and they become neutralized. First, they lose joy, then they get neutralized. So what you have to understand is if you practice self-control, if you live a life of moderation, regulation, then whole life you can enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. So it is abstinence which gives you pleasure. It's not the contact. Abstinence in the sense you space it out, not total abstinence. Total abstinence, if you reach that state, then whatever you contact, you will enjoy. That's the reason when we contact the toy world, when we play with kids, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, don't you enjoy whatever you contact? Whatever games they are playing, don't you enjoy? Why you enjoy? Total abstinence. In that sense, I'm using that word. But here we are using the word not total abstinence. You need to abstain, meaning you need to space it out. So if you live a life of moderation, regulation, whatever you want to enjoy, whole life you will appreciate that object, that being. So it is moderation, regulation, which gives you pleasure, not indulgence. And everybody is trying to find pleasure by indulging. So these are the main points in the second motivation, enjoyment. So are we okay with this? Any doubts? All right. And then he gives that famous poem, The Pineapple and the Bee by William Cowper. So William Cowper, he is educating the entire humanity about this madness which we all are suffering from, that acquisition and enjoyment. That what happens when your life is driven by these two motivations, acquire, enjoy, acquire, enjoy. So beautifully he depicts it through an example. So we'll continue with the next paragraph. William Cowper, right? So who read last week? Veera, you read?
Yes.
Charu read and I was waiting to read.
Okay.
We stopped. I don't know. Charu can continue. I'll continue.
No. The wait is over. You can read.
Thank you.
William Cowper.
Hurry on. William Cowper, in his outstanding poem, The Pineapple and the Bee, portrays such madness in human pursuits. The poem narrates how a bee tries in vain to penetrate glass frame to reach the pineapples arranged therein. The poet compares the bee's desire for the pineapple to a human's craving for wealth and enjoyment. He gives two examples of this weakness in humans. The one, a maid's desire for jewelry behind the show glass, and the other, a man's desire for a woman passing by in a chariot. Human beings the world over squander their lifetime pursuing their insatiable desire for possession and enjoyment. The poem shows how desires lead some to frustrate themselves with vain hopes, others to break barriers and suffer the consequences thereof. While the wise with a clear intellect finds peace and happiness even in adverse environment and circumstance. The poem. The Pineapple and the Bee. The pineapples in triple row were basking hot and all in blow. A bee of most discerning taste perceived the fragrance as he passed. On eager wing the spoiler came and searched for crannies in the frame. Urged his attempt on every side, to every pane his trunk applied, but still in vain the frame was tight, and only previous to the light. Thus, having wasted half the day, he trimmed his flight another way. Methinks, I said, in thee I find the sin and madness of mankind. To joys forbidden man aspires, consumes his soul with vain desires. Folly the spring of his pursuit, and disappointment all the fruit. While Cynthia ogles as she passes the nymph between two chariot glasses. She is the pineapple, and he the silly, unsuccessful bee. The maid who views with pensive air the show glass fraught with glittering ware, sees watches, bracelets, rings, and lockets, but sighs at thought of empty pockets. Like thine, her appetite is keen, but the cruel glass between. Our dear delights are often such, exposed to view but not to touch. The sight our foolish heart inflames, we long for pineapples in frames. With hopeless wish, one looks and lingers. One breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. William Cowper.
So the last stanza is most important. Our dear delights are often such, exposed to view but not to touch. The sight of a foolish heart inflames, we long for pineapples in frames. With hopeless wish one looks and lingers. One breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. last two lines you have to underline. That is the philosophical conclusion. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. An excellent topic for small group discussion. Incidentally, it was discussed. I think Uncle Sachdeva, he asked the question a couple of months back. I don't know whether he is here. What does it mean? So anyway, so the entire poem is symbolic. So that B is nothing but you and me. And he says triple row. C is a nice pudding, there are one, two, three layers. So we are trying to find happiness through acquisition and enjoyment at three levels of our personality. That's what it means: physical level, emotional level, intellectual level. And the whole life goes in that pursuit. So when are you going to find that happiness? So therefore, he's talking about that bee. Half a day, a whole day, whatever that poor bee tries to enter from this side, that side, but you can't. There's a glass casing on that. And end of the day, that bee understands that there is no happiness and goes somewhere else. Somewhere else meant to find some another pudding. It's not that bee understood there is no happiness there. So now apply this to your own life. Whole life you are trying to find happiness where it is not there. That's what he is telling us. So he just talks about relationships. He talks about wealth. It applies to all our pursuits at all levels of our personality. So when are you going to find happiness in life? And then he talks about a class of people. He says one breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. One breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. See, there are people who may do illegal or immoral things to acquire and enjoy. 9 out of 10, they will not do that. They will remain frustrated. But there are people who break all barriers: moral barriers, legal barriers, society barriers, whatever, to acquire and enjoy. So many scams we keep hearing about in the newspaper. Every day there is some scam, some part of the world, minor scam to major scams. So why are they doing it? And incidentally, in some cases, extremely well-to-do people are involved. I think there was a case in Michigan where one doctor was involved, very well-to-do doctor. I think Jigar might know, because his wife is a doctor. That guy who used to prescribe, I think Purvi knew him, right? Knew of him. We don't want names. Whoever that Dr. D, extremely well-to-do doctor, and he used to prescribe what is it called?
Opioids.
Opioid, because they have that power or whatever authority. It was a scam. Where it is not required, he was prescribing, and some, I don't know, thousands and thousands of prescriptions in 4 or 5 years, 10 years period. And he amassed wealth. I mean, you can't say multimillionaire, beyond multimillionaire. For what? When you are already a multimillionaire. Do you get the point? One who breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. So you and I may not do that. But there are people who do that. And then what kind of a life is that? I think poor guy, he's still in prison. The whole life will be in prison. That does not make him a bad person, negative person. That one desire, whatever that desire is, you and I can fall a prey to that. Or it could be food. Fine, keep on eating black currant, breaks the glass and cuts his finger. Doctor has told, one more scoop and ICU. What doctors they know. So applies to all of us. It's a question of more or less. So that therefore he says that madness, that madness of acquisition and enjoyment. So some of the words are very powerful. You can go home and read the poem. Methinks I said, in thee I find the sin and madness of mankind. Sin meaning mental agitations, and that madness. Madness for what? That doctor is prescribing, these opioids for what? What is the bottom line? It's fascinating, that psychology, you know.
Greed,
It
greed,
is
greed,
happening to all of us,
Greed.
but not to that
greed,
scale.
Greed.
greed.
Greed,
Money.
when you already have, yeah, somebody else had an answer.
Money. Greed.
That greed for money. Fine, you need money for sustenance. It goes without saying. But then how much money you need? When you already have everything. Therefore, I am giving examples of people who had surplus. So it's fascinating. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. If you understand that, your life is made. They whom truth and wisdom lead, if you have this knowledge, you can gather honey from a weed. What does it mean? Those who already know, please don't give answers. What a statement. William Cowper is making that statement. Extraordinary philosopher, not an ordinary person. They whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. There is no honey in a weed. And how do you extract honey from a weed? What is he saying?
I mean, no matter what the situation, if somebody is like really leading with the intellect and wisdom, they're able to seek happiness in whatever be the situation in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Still, we are not fully convinced. We appreciate your point, but then how do I apply this in my day-to-day life? Can you give an example? Not now, you can think about it. Can gather honey from a weed. For that, you need truth and wisdom, knowledge. This knowledge of Vedanta, knowledge of the scriptures. How can you find happiness when you have knowledge in life? Take, for example, wealth. Almost now I am answering my own question. How would you apply that? They whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. As far as your wealth is concerned, how will you apply that? That's the problem most people have. However wealth they get, they are frustrated. Nobody is happy. So how would you apply this throughout your life at any stage? Each one is at a different level of wealth. The point is, at any stage you should be happy.
If you live within your means, then there is no need to have an extraordinary amount of wealth because you're satisfied with what you've got.
Good, excellent.
Don't indulge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even if you have a lot of wealth, if you indulge what, how can you enjoy that wealth? Good answer. Always look at people who are below you, not people who are above you. We are discussing wealth. That's what it means. Truth and wisdom, meaning when you have this knowledge, you keep your desires contained within your income. And then you can progress. Why not? How can you not progress as a human being? Automatically you will progress in life. At any stage, your desire should be contained within your income. I think last week we had a good discussion, either in this class or Bhagavad Gita. Somebody asked, I think Ramya had asked that question about wealth. So all that discussion applies here. But the problem is, as your wealth goes up, your desires also go up. It's fascinating. As you acquire more wealth, your desires also increase. So it's like checkmate. It defeats the purpose. I gave simple example. When you're 18, 19, 20, you got your first car, assuming your parents did not give it to you. What a car you bought? Let's say you bought Toyota Corolla. I mean, you are on the moon. Wow. Today, I mean, will you even look at that car? Anybody in this classroom, Toyota Corolla, I mean, how dare you even mention that? So it's a good thing that you earn more money. So now what do you buy? 3 series is minimum. It's a compromise, I know that, but it's minimum, or a C class is minimum, or Q3 is minimum. Below that, let's not even engage into any kind of discussion. Then what's the big deal? I mean, you are gifting your children Q3 on their 18th birthday. What's the big deal? You need something grand. Should you not buy that? Of course. You see, where are you going to draw the line? So as your wealth increases, your desires also they increase. And some desires which you never thought of, they suddenly pop up. I want to buy a house in Traverse City, weekend house in Traverse City or Petoskey, wherever, if you're from Michigan. Should you not buy? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But you know how expensive it is. So therefore, he says, if you have that wisdom, you can gather honey from a weed. At any stage, you'll be happy. Even if you have all the money in the world, still you'll be happy. That's what Bharat was saying. You will not indulge. So you will have that value for wealth throughout your life, or at whatever stage you have, if you keep your desires contained within the income. So apply this to all facets of life. Wealth we are just discussing as a sample, so it's easy to understand. So it's amazing conclusion, the last few lines. All right, so are we okay? Now the last topic, the human temperaments, where he talks about sattva, rajas and tamas. How many of you are hearing it for the first time, this concept? Oh, Eric, you don't know? You haven't heard about this before? First time, okay. Anybody else is new? I think everybody knows. So, I mean, in fact, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 16, 17, 18, they talk about sattva, rajas and tamas in detail. But just to give you a bird's eye view before we get into, before we read from the book, that every human being is a combination of these 3 desires. So it's a unique contribution of Vedanta philosophy to the world. No other literature talks about it. And what is our inner personality made up of? So our inner personality is made up of these 3 textures. They are nothing but desires. So our desires, they have these 3 textures: sattva, rajas and tamas. Sattva is the highest, rajas is mediocre, and tamas is the lowest. So every human being is made up of these 3 qualities of desires. There is no exception. That proportion changes from person to person. Why I am different from you, you are different from me? Because the proportion of sattva, rajas and tamas is different. And our mission in life is to raise ourselves from tamas to rajas to sattva. So if you don't understand these words, you can just call them ABC. A is the highest, B is lower than A, C is the lowest. So by default, you have to have sattva, rajas, and tamas in you. Sattva is a state of when you are contemplative, you're objective, you're spiritual, you have that inquiry. Your intellect is perfectly controlling your mind. Your desires are of very high quality. That is a state of sattva, that is that guna, that is that quality. Rajas is a state of where person is full of desires and he is active to fulfill those desires, and it produces mental agitations throughout life, hurrying, worrying, rushing all the time. So you ask anybody, what do you want in life? They will not be able to give answer. No, I'm too busy, too busy. It's typical Rajasic state. You're passionate and your passions are not under your control. You get involved in life. You're attached. You are possessive. Therefore, full of mental agitations, worry, and anxiety. And tamas is the lowest state, where the quality of your desires is very, very poor, indifferent. You are heedless, lethargy. So, interesting part is every human being has all three. There cannot be exception to this rule, but the proportion changes from person to person. Even a highly sattvic person will have rajas and tamas. Even a highly tamasic person will have traces of rajas and sattva. So what we need to do as a sadhak, as seekers, is to raise our personality from tamas, because it's the lowest quality in us, to rajas, to sattva, which is the highest quality, and go beyond sattva, which is called as trans sattva, the state of self-realization or God realization. And that's what the ultimate purpose of life is, to conquer our tamas, to conquer our rajas. You don't have to worry about sattva really. Sattva is your original nature. So you can only offload your tamas and rajas. So as you offload rajasic and tamasic desires, sattva will automatically start manifesting. You will be more quiet, you'll be more matured, you'll be more contemplative, you'll be more objective. The typical sattvic qualities, that's the original nature actually. So that's the analysis, and systematically he explains what is it, and how to become sattvic, how to conquer tamas and rajas. All right. So what we can do is, how many paragraphs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Charu, can you read the first 5 paragraphs? And then after Charu, Veera can read, or if somebody wants to read, they're more than welcome. So Charu, you can start with the first 5 paragraphs.
The human temperaments. Human beings have distinct and different natures, which fall under 3 broad temperaments known in Sanskrit language as sattva, rajas, and tamas. Every human being is composed of all the 3 temperaments. Tamas is the state of inertia. A person in tamas is lethargic, lackadaisical, indifferent, heedless, indisposed to any form of activity, in a mood of sloth and sleep. Bereft of emotional or intellectual expression, he hardly responds to the world. Rajas is being passionate and agitated. It expresses as desire-ridden activities. A person in Rajas is attached and involved in worldly affairs, rushing, hurrying, and worrying all the time. Sattva is the finest human temperament of equanimity and serenity. A person in a state of sattva remains poised, mature, contemplative, objective, detached from worldly involvement and excitement. Sattva, rajas, and tamas, constituting an individual in different proportions, accounts for the heterogeneity of human beings. The predominance of sattva in a person renders his intellect clear and sharp, whereas with rajas predominating, a person is prone to acquiring intelligence at the expense of developing the intellect. Today's world, replete with rajas, is all intelligence and no intellect. And where tamas saturates a person, he has neither intelligence nor intellect.
Yeah, so he explains sattva, rajas, and tamas, which we already discussed. And then it's very interesting. I think next one or two paragraphs he's going to tell us that whatever sattva, rajas, and tamas you have, it will manifest at a particular time in a day. The sattvic nature will manifest early in the morning. Therefore, we keep on saying early morning is very conducive for study and reflection of the scriptures. So it's a time between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. It is called as Brahma Murta or Amrut Bela. Depends on which part of India you come from. But it's a universal fact, doesn't matter. You could be in America, you could be in Russia, you could be in China. Whatever you have, that sattvic proportion you have, it will manifest early in the morning. And after 6:30 approximately, see your desires wake up, as it were, they start manifesting. So you are prone to action. Naturally, you want to go into the world to fulfill your desires, and then you are busy, rushing, worrying, hurrying all the time. And after sundown, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever tamasic qualities you have, whatever tamasic desires you have, they will start manifesting. So all the reckless activities like wine, gambling, and all that, nobody does that in the morning. Drinking, nobody drinks in the morning unless really extraordinary. Then you may do that. Gambling, have you seen anybody gambling at 5 a.m. in the morning? Even in Las Vegas, I think they close at just before Brahma Muhurta, right? So it's like an extended night. So naturally, whatever sattva, rajas, tamas you have, it will manifest by default throughout the day at these times. So therefore, if you want to tap sattva in you, if you want to have that access in that sattvic quality in you, you have to get up early in the morning. Otherwise, you will miss. Once it is past 6 o'clock in the morning, that tenderness of the day is gone. You cannot get it back. So therefore, we recommend you have to study scriptures early in the morning. You have to be practical. You may not be able to get up at 4 o'clock, I understand. But 5 o'clock, 5:15, worst case scenario, is doable most of the times. 9 out of 10 times you can do that. Provided you sleep early in the night. That's the catch. Don't say, no, I can't get up. You can. 9 out of 10 times you can. I'm not talking about, there could be some extraordinary situations in life. For example, there's a wedding in the family, there's a party. You can't suddenly leave at 9 o'clock. Oh, I have to sleep at 9:30. It's okay. Dance till 1 o'clock. Or maybe there's some meeting, you're traveling. It's okay. But 9 out of 10 times, definitely you can sleep early. You want to watch TV to relax in the evening. Why not? But why you want to stretch it beyond 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11, 11:30, 12? So if you cut down on these activities, most of the times you'll be able to get up in the morning. It's very, very practical. 9:30, 10 o'clock, if you hit the bed, 10 o'clock is fine. Can you not get up at 5? How many hours of sleep? 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 hours is enough. And if you want to get up at 4, 4:15, then we recommend take a small snooze in the afternoon. Otherwise, it becomes taxing. That is, if you can do. Don't sleep in the middle of the day in your office and blame Vedanta. This is what I learned in Vedanta class. I lost my job. They found me sleeping on the table. Get up at 5, 5:15. It is okay. So you need to cut down on nighttime activities. That's the key. So that's what he's going to explain to us now. So next two paragraphs. Veera.
Whatever be the sattva content in a person, it surfaces in the early hours of the morning between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. The rajas and tamas components in him lie low during that period. When the sattvic time is over, his rajas content rises to the surface of his personality and predominates through daytime between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. During that period, the two other temperaments remain relatively dormant, and tamas emerges at night from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m., when sattva and rajas are practically inactive. This law of nature holds good for one and all in the human species. The law is apparent in the behavioral pattern of humans throughout the world. Since sattva manifests in a person between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., he is more composed, thoughtful, and objective during those hours. Interestingly, the predominance of sattva in the person wakes him up early in the morning. As for rajas, it is seen manifest as frenzied activity during daytime between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And tamas manifests after 6 p.m. as indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and other senseless activity.
Please continue.
Hence, literature composed during sattvic time would be far more creative and valuable than that composed during any other time of the day. But the modern trend everywhere is to sleep late and wake up late. And literature produced during rajasic and tamasic time would naturally lack luster. Since there is poor participation of the intellect in its production, the efforts of modern writers have been mere recycling of intelligence with hardly any creativity of the intellect, and the writings wanting in substance. The world needs writers with powerful intellect to put in the best effort to think and compose their literature at sattvic time. The readers will then be able to understand and apply the knowledge therein in their lives. Enrique Jardiel Poncela, a Spanish novelist, wisely pronounces, when something can be read without effort, great effort has gone into its writing.
Underline that statement. So there are 2 points. So sattva, rajas, and tamas, you know now what it means. So it all depends on what you feed. If you keep on feeding tamasic qualities in you, you keep on indulging late in the nights, you will become a tamasic person. You will fan your tamasic desires. If you keep on fanning your rajasic desires, you will become a rajasic person. If you focus on the sattvic quality in you, get up early in the morning, study, reflect, you will become a sattvic person. It all depends on which aspect of your personality you are catering to. We often give example of a garden. You have a beautiful garden in your house, and there are three patches. There's a lawn, then there are, perennials, and there is something else. So if you focus on whatever part of the garden, that part will flourish. If you focus on the sattvic quality in you, get up in the morning, study scriptures, that is what will manifest. That's what you will become. And slowly, rajasic and tamasic desires, they will wane away, meaning worldly, materialistic, sensual desires, they will wane away. You will get established in the higher values of life. So it all depends on you. You have that choice. Number one. Number two, he talks about the quality of literature. Now, some of you may not be knowing, Swamiji has written 12 books. Not even a word was written in any of these books after 6 a.m. in the morning. That my whole life he was writing. And a thought came to him. He shares his experience, I mean, how much I can produce. I want to produce quite a lot, literature for the world. So, and it's a practical idea to start writing during even the daytime. So maybe within 10, 15 years, I can write whatever literature, whatever plan he had. And he tried for a few months. He said whatever he wrote, he tore it to pieces. He said, no, it cannot be done. I have to, whatever writing is there, I have to write in the morning. So therefore, it took Swamiji almost 60 to 70 years to produce these 12 books. See, that's the reason there is so much of clarity. Are you with me? See, otherwise, practically all the books, most of the books, you pick up on spirituality or religion, chances are that you will come out either confused or your head will start spinning. You hardly understand anything. Therefore, you find there's so much of misunderstanding, conflicts, and whatnot. In the name of religion, nobody understands that. So that's the book Vedanta treatise all about. Is nothing but he's educating the entire humanity that all enlightened masters, they have said exactly the same thing. Who understands it? If you have gone through that study, we all have gone through that study. For you and me, it is no big deal. It's quite obvious. But from where did we get that clarity? Somebody had that clarity, produced that literature. Even this book, Governing Business and Relationships, is nothing but what? Application of the knowledge of the scriptures in our day-to-day life. It's so simple. So tremendous clarity is required. That's what that Spanish writer is telling us. That's the last statement. When something can be read without effort, great effort has gone into its writing. Even in your own field, you have to send emails or you have to make a presentation. If you are confused, what can you produce? Your boss will not understand, your colleagues will not understand, and you all have to make a presentation or whatever. So that clarity is required. So follow me carefully. Ideally, you should study scriptures in the morning between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., whatever is your target. But sometimes it may happen that you have to take some complex decisions, or some project is very, I don't know, so you need a lot of, it needs a lot of application. So you may use that time to work on that particular project or a presentation. But ideally speaking, don't waste your time. But sometimes you have to. Or study at least for 15 minutes if you feel you don't have too much of time. And then rest of the time, whatever time you have, maybe from 5:15 to 6:30, you can use that time for your work. Once in a while, you can do that. So that way, you'll be able to apply yourself. There'll be clarity. Your presentation will be good. What else? These are the main points. Can't get into minute discussion. It will take couple of days. So this is the concept of sattva, rajas, and tamas. So Eric, are you okay? And we'll be covering this over and over again. This is just a introduction. It's a trailer. So any questions on this topic, on this chapter? Yes, Radha.
Amitji, so there is this sattvic time, rajasic time, and tamasic time. So is it a good idea to introduce, if you have the aptitude, the sattvic, like
Mhm.
sattvic experiences even in the rajasic and tamasic time?
No, I'm not clear about the question.
So the 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. is a study, but during the rajasic time and tamasic time, will it help if we introduce some sattvic activities, or the content like devotional music and all that? So would that increase the sattva too of the content of the person?
See, sattvic time is meant for study and reflection.
Yes.
Devotional music is not study and reflection.
Okay.
It is conducive for your growth, spiritual growth. So you can't compromise on study and reflection. Whatever time, it could be 5, it could be 5:15, it could be 4:30. So you cannot compromise. So study and reflection cannot be done after 6 a.m. unless there is some emergency. Then it is okay. I mean, better study something rather than not study. So as an exception, it is okay. And as far as devotional music is concerned, you can't do it between 4 and 6. It has to be after 6 o'clock. Otherwise, you're losing that time of study and reflection. So in that sense, it is okay. But again, to listen to devotional music, your mind has to be relatively calm. There is no point, the meeting is going on, all sorts of things are happening, and also devotional music is playing in the background. Then it is just a ritual. Mechanically, you are you're listening to devotional music. Now, that does not mean what could be productive is you can decide the time where relatively you are like free. It could be after lunch break, or it could be even in the evening, like around dusk time also. Sometimes it is nice, So, but there has to be a designated time. So it has to be a conscious effort. Or when you are driving, that time you may listen to devotional music, something uplifting, So like that it can be done, because it's like you're right. It is a sattvic activity. So why not?
Yes.
Definitely you can do it, but not between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. That is clear. Other time of the day, you'll have to think carefully and introduce that. It is okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Rachel.
I just wanted to share that before I even knew that book said this in this chapter, like I've just like as my spirit or whatever has grown and stuff, I've just automatically started going to this schedule without even knowing like why. Because last week I don't go out much now, especially on the weekends, because I want to be in class. And so I'm prioritizing my class with going out at night, because I'll feel better about myself to be in class than having fun the night before and miss class. So last weekend I went out with a friend that I haven't gone out with in a long time. And I kept saying I have class in the morning. I don't want to miss class in the morning. And I was like 15 minutes late. I didn't log in time. And I was like really bummed about that, because like I had a great time. I will say I had a great time out with her, but and then like so this weekend, I was with family yesterday that I haven't been with for a long time, and it was like maybe 6 p.m. and I kept looking at my watch. I'm like, we got to wrap this up because I got to be in class in the morning. And it's like, it's so right. Reading this, I'm seeing how my spirit is growing, and it's prioritizing without me even knowing that this book put words to it. It's prioritizing what my spirit wants to do more than others. And so, like, I made sure I took everybody home, and I got home. So the 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. time where I used to be at when I wasn't thinking about anything spiritual and stuff, like I notice even when it is that time, if my body would naturally be in the tamas part at that time, it's not now. I want to be home because my mind is already seeing the next morning. And then another part I wanted to share was I have my phone on sleep mode. It comes on at 8:30 at night to go to sleep, so I'm not distracted by my phone. And then I might put on like a meditation, like a sleep meditation to help me sleep, so I'm not like watching the TV. And then and I say that because I want to be up from at 4 a.m. to have quiet time for at least 2 hours before I start getting ready for work. I don't like to just jump up and have to rush and get ready for work. And that's something I've already been doing for like 6 months before I ever knew this chapter. So that was really nice for me to see and hear today that my spirit is automatically aligning with how it should be. Yeah. So
Yeah, good. Good. So what you need is a target. We all need that target. That target is morning study. So that changes the entire complexion of life. Morning study, even if you say I want to get up at 5 o'clock, 5 to 5:45, I have to study. Your entire life will be disciplined. It's amazing. We don't understand how it happens, but once you experience that, no, that's what we are sharing. No, this is my target. So automatically you will manage your life. And 9 out of 10 times we all can do it. Exceptions can be there. That is okay. So that time use your sense of proportion. So all clear? Chapter 2. So we'll start chapter 3 next week. It is called Life in Focus. And there are 8 topics in that chapter. The first topic is objective scientists. First of all, he talks about what is life all about. That is introduction, the first paragraph. That we all want happiness in life, and life is nothing but experiences. This is how it starts. So if you want to have a good life, you need to attend to your experiences. As your experiences, so is your life. And then he dissects experience. What is the experience? Made up of 2 parts, subject, object. You need to take care of both. It is you and the world. And then he explains that objective scientists, they worked on improving the world, which is required. And subjective scientists, all these great enlightened master, wise people from all over the world, they worked on improving the individual. So when subject and object both are taken care of, then there is happiness in life. So that is topic 1, topic 2, objective scientists, subjective scientists. Topic 3 is paradox in life. Then the 4th topic is who is materialist, who is sensualist, that is this topic. And the topic number 6 is who is emotional. So he explains the difference between having emotions and becoming emotional. Extremely important. Then followed by who is intelligent, who is intellectual. Topic number 7. And the last topic, topic 8, who is religious and who is spiritual. So it's a nice chapter, and we'll start it from next week. All right, so 10:31. If no more questions, should we conclude for today? Have a good weekend. See you next week.
Thanks, Amit
Thank
ji.
you, everyone.
Amitji.
Thanks, Amit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amit ji.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you.